And remember, we're quite followers, eh? So once enough of us get going, we tend to hit a tipping point. So.
Hi, I got lucky to get invited to volunteer taping you, but I thought since I was here, I'd ask you a question. In our family, we've got 2 smart cars now because a couple of years ago when they first showed up, I didn't buy one, but I was looking at my wife's Mustang one day and I said, you know, that just doesn't work anymore. She goes, what do you mean? I love my car. I said, no, I don't think that's really a good idea because it parks for most of the winter and we drive another car and it's not really that much better. Well, it's better, but it's not much better. So anyhow, I talked her out of the Mustang into a smart car. And then we got rid of another vehicle and I got another smart car. And I met a guy parked in a parking lot one day and he was driving this bright orange Hummer. And it had all kinds of special stuff on it, like it had been customized. And I didn't see the owner right away, but then he showed up. So I went over and said, hey, what kind of mileage do you get out of that thing? He said, oh, I own a gas station. You know, I spent a... No kidding, that's what he said. And then he said, you know, I spent over $100,000 on this car. It's all customized. Check this out, check that out. And I said, no, but how many miles did he get? He said, oh, it's the comfort I'm interested in. He did not want to answer the question. And so this brings me to my question for you. What do you find to be the most effective method to get inside someone's head and flip the switch from, I want to be comfortable, I like my car, to, hey, wait a minute, let's think about the bigger picture. What's the most effective thing you've found so far? Besides this presentation, but it only works to the people who come, so it's kind of like talking to the people who are already interested.
That's right, yeah, and that's the tough part. It varies for every individual, to be honest. So Lee Scott, Walmart, is a great example. Is his story, my understanding is that the light was turned on for him when he went fishing with his niece. And his niece got into his head, and then he came back and, you know, all of a sudden did something. Another area is this, a number of CEOs, I'm going to talk, I'll do different people here. A number of CEOs, of course, have egos, right? And just small ones, right? And a couple of them, you're seeing them go forward now. Joe Coolius, is that his name? Joe Coolius? He's a big high-tech guy in Canada, and he's making presentations around the country now. He's just granted $100 million to the Clinton Foundation, and he's agreed to give 50% of everything he makes until he dies. Warren Buffett, going to give 85% of his billions away. So where I'm going with this is other people get to a point, I find, in their life where they need to leave a legacy, or they've done everything they can. Okay, so that's one type of individual. The second type of individual, which is the biggest, which you're talking about, is the hardest, because we have certain perspectives that are ingrained, right? And I use the example of myself when we get into these debates is, I have a lovely wife, okay? Her perspective on this stuff was zero when we met, okay? And we drive an Audi A4, 26th on the energy efficiency, or fuel efficiency, okay? And I debate people this all the time. I cannot, I'm sorry, convince her to buy a smart car, okay? Unless I want to divorce her, okay? So what I do is, with her as an example, is I talk a lot about the kids. I talk a lot about the cost savings. So I convinced her that we now heat with wood, okay, in our house in the middle of Ottawa. And we heat with wood, and that costs us a lot of money. But I take small steps. She's an interior designer. I now have her promoting bamboo floors, no VOC paint. So where I'm going with this is how you convince people is you understand their perspective, and then you try to work within that perspective. Some it's money, some it's ego, some it's just they didn't know, you know, they didn't know about it. Habit. And this is the hardest part of our challenge, is the fact that we are in a Western society that buys stuff, right? You know, and we have kids who want stuff because their friends have it. And that's going to be the biggest challenge next to getting our leaders to actually do something on this face of the earth. But in my belief, it's one person at a time, and I love the multiplication effect. if I get one of you in here to do something, you're going to go back and get 3 others, and in my next presentation I'll get another 1 and 3, and it'll start to. And I'm a firm believer of this tipping point, both negatively on the greenhouse gas and positively, that we as a society will grow together and then finally convert. So, one more. Who, anybody else? Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I liked your presentation very much, and that's why I stand up to say something. My name is Zeke Botokuma, originally from Congo, a tiny, big country in Africa that has contributed very little to the problem we are trying to solve here. And as a citizen from that part of the world, I think that I have some authority to speak louder against those who have contributed so much to the problem we are trying to solve. Your presentation also shows that the U.S. has contributed more than any country from the world, and I have joined U.S. citizens in contributing to this problem through my bad habit in driving and many other things. Very recently we heard that Al Gore has won this fantastic prize, and I think that a leadership from the U.S. is very important in solving this problem. And I do believe that strong voices from the U.S., not only but especially from the U.S., is very important. And I was wondering how we, participants in this forum, could eventually send a message, and especially those who are coming from the U.S. for this event, how we could push Al Gore and his disciples to become the strongest voice to solve this problem. I think it would be very interesting to do that, to transform his prize, Nobel Prize, into a weapon of mass something positive.
I think you're bang on in that, and I think when the next election occurs next year, that hopefully there'll be a change in the administration, and if there is, I guarantee you that we will see a huge shift in this in the U.S. But how you can get involved, first of all, I believe 8 of the most influential out of 10 major church organizations and that faith-based organizations have gone into and made statements already to Bush. So that's one, is through our faith and through our community we can get engaged in this. 2 is there are a number of citizen organizations, particularly down in the States, that are pushing for this, for climate change. 3 through your business, you know, and 4 through your political, for sure your political, letting your politicians know. But I think we're on the verge of this change with regards to the U.S. And I'm not trying to put all my eggs in one basket, but we have to admit, once the U.S. does get involved, I think we're going to see a huge change in world opinion in that. And hopefully once they get on board, then others will start to get on board. And just to re-emphasize what this gentleman said, I want everybody to know that by the time my son was 6 months old, he had generated more waste than an African citizen will in their lifetime. Okay. What's that? Yeah, it's called cloth. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, then by the time he was 2, the toys took over. You know, like I'm just getting at Western, you know, consumption is horrible.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was wonderful, and I think Mike's done a wonderful job of setting the context, giving us the science reality of what we're dealing with. And I think what has been raised and what Mike's touched on and some of the questions we've had is now how do we engage and how do we find that motivation to transform our own lives and to engage others in our own communities, in our faith communities, and become the leaders that we need to be and help others make those changes we need to move to. And that's what we're going to be exploring for the rest of the day.